Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Rudy Knapp, and this is episode 4 of my podcast, Legacy Building a Kingdom. I just want to start off by doing a little recap. This podcast was created about a month ago or so, and it took me quite a bit of time to get going on this. It's interesting on the process in which I took in order to get to this point. We'll talk a little bit about how that's important and relevant to today's podcast topic, but I want to do a little recap. The first episode, if you are following along, was an introduction. It was discussing why I'm doing this podcast. It's discussing the reasons why, the people that I can thank for this. It talked a little bit about where I've come from in my life to this point recently, the connection to my kids, and a whole lot of topics that we're going to probably get into. So it was an introduction. And the second podcast episode was about empowerment and how we can empower ourselves and we empower those around us. And we build our kingdom by empowering our own self, which also gives us the ability to empower those around us. So we're building up people. We're building up our kingdom, the people that are important to us. And then the third podcast episode introduced my son, Ben, and we talked about core values, and we got a chance to see a little insight in who he is. And I hope all of you enjoyed listening to him as much as I did. Obviously, I'm his dad. I was super proud. I think that he did an amazing job. He's growing up to be the young man that I expect him to be and the young man that has impressed me. And real quick, one more thing about that would be my goals in life. One of the things with my goals in life is to always be able to take both my children, my son and my daughter, and prepare them for life, prepare them to be independent, prepare them to make smart choices, and then also just have them be better than I am. They have to be better than I am. When I say better, I'm talking about character. I'm talking about inside their heart and who they are as people. We are empathetic people in our family, from their mother to myself to them, since they were been babies. So it's an interesting concept to be empathetic, but also be real and also be firm and also be goal driven. So when we start looking at this concept, they have to be better than I am. It's really what drives me as a person and as a father, and in this life gives me purpose. And so it's really important for me to understand that my kids have the necessary skills to move forward. Are they perfect? Nope. Are they going to make mistakes? Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. They do, and they're not perfect, and they're not meant to be perfect. So we are going to push them to be the best they can be, and I think that they are showing very well that they are great kids. They're great people, and that's more important. So anyway, getting back to this podcast, I also did a few thoughts of the day where we talked about 90-10% rule. We talked about faith on Easter. So just a little blurb of some of my thoughts, and we can get into some of those major topics at another time. But today, I want to start off with an exercise. I think that everyone, if you're listening to this podcast, really wish you would do these exercises that we're kind of talking about, because it'll lead into understanding a little bit more of this concept. If my son was here, I would have asked him to do this, and I want to see how difficult it is for you. I want you to really try this and actually say it out loud and see how difficult it is for you. The first thing is I want you to say 3 things. I call this 3-2-1, by the way. Say 3 things about yourself out loud that you believe you do a good job at. So take a second, say 3 things out loud that you think you do a good job at. The second thing I want you to do is name 2 things out loud that you have done to help another person this week. It could be minor, it could be major, just 2 things that you've done to help another person this week. And then the last thing would be to name 1 thing about yourself that you believe separates yourself from the majority, that makes you who you are. So 1 thing that you believe about yourself that separates yourself from the majority of people, that you believe makes you who you are. Now, if you're actually doing this, and if you paused this and actually did it, or if you took real quick and responded right away, I wonder how difficult that was for you. This kind of leads me into what I want to talk about today. Those people that find it really, really difficult to do, I'm not saying that you lack this, but it's also something that is concerning, because as people, we should be able to say something nice about ourselves. Like, we should be able to speak positively about ourselves. And when we start talking about confidence, which is the main purpose of this podcast today, confidence is so vital, so important. into everyday life in every aspects of our lives. And when we talk about building a kingdom and really helping ourselves grow as people, we have to have a confidence to ourselves. We have to be able to sit back and be able to exercise this concept of confidence. And it's extremely important when it comes to who you are and growing to become a better person. So, when I did this exercise, yes, I will say, right away you have to do some thinking. And, what do you think you do a good job at? And when we start thinking about 3 things that you do a good job at, well, I think I'm a good teacher. I believe I'm a very good teacher because I get results, and I believe that I build relationships with students. And whether that's coaching, whether that's teaching in the classroom, I believe that you build a relationship to make them understand that you care. Now, I'm harsh and I'm direct. I don't want to say I'm harsh to the students, but I will say that it does come off as pretty direct, and that's just me in nature. So anybody that's ever been near me probably knows that, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that. But it's out of love, an intention for you to get better. It's never going to be out of an intention to hurt you, and it may hurt. It may hurt to hear some of my words, but again, I'm a good teacher. I believe that I forgot to add my other 2. I'm a good teacher. I believe that I'm a good father. I believe that my kids are better off with me in their lives and understand that I care about them and that I'm going to prepare them for life like we talked about earlier. I also believe that I'm a great person when it comes to being in a relationship. I believe that I can give and that I can see the needs of my partner, and I believe that I can be somebody that provides and actually becomes a benefit to being in your life. I just believe that. And those are 3 things about me, but the 2 things that I have done to help someone else, I open a door. That's small, minute, but I open the door. You walk in and you're near me, I'm going to open the door for you. I don't care if you're a man, woman, child, doesn't matter. That's called how I was raised. That's what you do as a respect to someone else, and you open the door. That's something nice you do for someone else. I also believe that I am somebody that tries to build confidence in someone else, so giving compliments where they're due. I could also add in, donating to a fundraiser. One of my buddies has a fundraiser, does a great job at giving back, and I'm really proud of him, and you donate to the cause. And those are 2 things that you've done for someone else to help someone else out. And then the last thing that I would say, which I believe is very difficult for a lot of people, is to name something that separates yourself from the majority. I am the most consistent person, and everybody can use that word and we can define that differently, but I am the most consistent person that you'll meet. And I believe it separates me from the majority of people. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to get it done. If I have a challenge, it will get done. If I say I'm going to be up at the gym at 4:30 in the morning, I'm there every single morning. I don't miss. I'm consistent when it comes to reaching out to people. I'm consistent to providing feedback. I'm consistent to making sure people know how I feel about them. I'm very consistent. Those are the exercise, or that's the exercise that I wanted you to get started off with, because I want you to understand the concept of confidence. If that is a struggle, if you cannot come up with, one of the major things that comes with building confidence is self-positive talk. You must talk about yourself in a positive manner. When we put ourselves down, when we say these things, and I'm guilty of it at times too, we must be able to redirect and have a conversation that becomes positive. This is something that we work on in therapy. This is something, my kids work on. It's very, very difficult sometimes because we have to have this sense to ourselves to understand that confidence is just something that's going to guide us to keep bettering ourselves. So, what is confidence again? It's full trust, believing in the powers of yourself and your own abilities. You have to believe in them. And how do we do that? I've read once the 4 P's of confidence. I actually read 2 different sets of 4 P's of confidence, which I find is really interesting. I read this and then I looked them up, and then there they were. So there's definitely different ways to look at the 4 P's of confidence. But the first one that I thought was there's 2 sets that I actually really like. And the first one talks about preparation. When you want to build confidence or you want to know that you have confidence, you must be prepared, right? Practice what you're going to do, preparation. And if you prepare for something, you become confident in what you're doing. It's like going to your work. If you walk in as a teacher and you're in a classroom and you're just going to wing it, guess what? You're not that confident in what you're teaching. But if you go through, you do your due diligence and you actually prepare for the lesson and you prepare for possible misconceptions and you prepare for that student that's going to act a certain way. If you prepare ahead of time, you are very confident in what you can do and what you can accomplish. It's practicing. It's preparing. It's planning out. The second one is previous performances. You take a look at all what you were successful at and you now are confident to be successful in it again, or what you failed at and how you reflected on it and how you're not going to let that affect you again and you're going to learn from it. previous performances. The third thing would be people. People to be in your environment, in your life, in your ear, that are going to be support, that are going to motivate, that are going to be someone that you can look to and say, hey, these people believe in me. They look up to me. Seek out those people. Because when you surround yourself with great people, and that's a huge point today, surround yourself with great people, you will understand how your confidence can boost you to another level. You want to get better. You have a motivation to get better. You have people around you that care about you. They look up to you. They're feeding you this confidence with just their words or their actions. I can think right now, my buddy's responses to these podcasts, I mean, absolutely emotional. I mean, the fact that he's invested, that he looks through every detail of what I'm saying on a podcast is so overwhelming. But also many, many people reaching out to me and having these conversations with me about this podcast, which, again, disclaimer, never expected in my life. I love it. I love the idea of it. And to those people out there, I want to say thank you that are following this, that are watching, listening every single week, that are asking for me and when my next edition will be. It's amazing the support that I have. And it builds confidence in me being able to continue on and continue to have these conversations and speak my words and speak what I believe in and get on this podcast every week. I love it. I love the idea that people actually care about it. And if you do, well, thank you again for this. Again, the fourth thing for the 4 Ps, positive self-talk. We talked about it already. It is most vital to yourself and your confidence, because you're now making sure that you are looking at yourself in a light that you want others to see you in as well, but also making sure you understand that you are worth something. You have a self-worth, and we're going to talk about that too. But positive self-talk, it reforms the negative thoughts in your brain and the negative thoughts that we constantly have. Remember, we talked a lot about this. We have these negative thoughts. We revert back to our program from the womb to 7 years old. We have this concept of what we were taught a certain way, and then we get into this whole negative thinking part. We have thoughts, and it turns into negative thinking, and that negative thinking is something that absolutely destroys us. And if we can't control that, and we can't continue to allow that to, or if we continue to allow that to hurt us, it's going to affect us so negatively, and then it's going to take away our confidence. But reforming negative thoughts, replacing them with positive thoughts, right? And again, another major point, find the positive in every situation. It could be the worst of all situations. I've discussed it in my life, finding the positive from that. Finding the positive from whatever this negative thought is or thinking takes place, find something that's positive. All right, so those are 4 Ps that I thought were really important. There's another set. The other set would be purpose, and we talk about having purpose. That means know exactly what you're going to do, the reason that you're doing, the why you're doing it, right? It will provide some motivation, some hope to achieve provide motivation and direction to help you achieve what you're looking for, what you want to do. So having confidence. Planning, we talked a little bit about that with preparation, the planning part of it, the strategy part of it. What are you actually going to do? What are your goals? And perseverance. I'm not going to give up. My resilience. When I come up to challenging things that are in the way of my goals, how do I get past it? How am I persistent? How do I continue to keep trying even when I feel a failure coming on? How do I get back up and keep going? Perseverance, right? Really important. It's a core value. Very, very important to continue to get past when it gets hard. And then, obviously, when you get past those little challenges, you can get to those long-term goals that you might have. But then the last thing would be passion. So purpose, planning, perseverance, and passion for achieving success. Think about the concept of passion. You have to actually be interested, enthusiastic in whatever you're trying to accomplish. If you're not interested in it, it's going to be very difficult for you to build a confidence in yourself. Right? If you're interested in it, you're going to learn about it. You're going to speak about it. You're going to prepare for it. You're going to plan for it. You're going to persevere to get through. You are going to be passionate about whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then also building that confidence in yourself, right, while you're doing it. So you think about these 4 Ps of confidence and why they're so important, extremely important in our lives, making sure that we're actually intentional about our confidence. Now, that being said, there's a common misunderstanding that people have when it comes to confidence. We have all this concept of cocky or, arrogance when it comes to this. And realistically, there's a whole difference between being confident and arrogant or cocky. And the difference becomes this: when you're confident, you believe in yourself, right? You believe in your abilities to do something. Yes, you're speaking them out loud at times. Yes, you're being positive, talking about yourself out loud. But when people hear that, there's a negative annotation to that, and people have a lot of issues with people being confident in themselves. Here's the difference. When you're arrogant and you're cocky, you're taking whatever the statement is that you're saying about yourself and you're blowing it up. You're making it bigger than it actually is. So you're making something seem so much greater than it is actually. And so I'm trying to explain that the best I can say it. But if I say, yeah, I did a great job at the football game and I had 7 tackles, and somebody looks at that as being cocky or arrogant, instead of you boosting yourself and going, I made all the plays. I was the number 1 star out there. I was the one that held the defense. I was the one that was the star of the show. Like, you then turn into arrogant. You then turn into this concept of boasting yourself to a point where you're the only one that's giving that, you're the only one that sees you in a different light that's greater than actually what was really happening. You were great at that game. You did have 7 tackles, and that was great. You can be confident in yourself. But to talk about how you're better than everyone else, that's an arrogant thing. So you have to be careful between the confidence thing. I love confidence. I think it's huge. It drives everything in our life. From your job, your career, these things that exist, you should be confident in your abilities. I always hated in teaching how you hear from some people, you should be lucky to have a job. You should be lucky to have one. They're cutting teacher positions. They're cutting these jobs and people are losing jobs. You should feel lucky. Nope, I don't feel lucky. I feel well-deserved because this is what I worked for. This is what I was in school for. This is what I prepared for. This was my planning. This is what I made myself become. I put in the work for it. I earned this. And so because I earned this and I continue to work at it and I continue to do what's necessary to be a great teacher, the whole point of this is that I earned this versus I'm lucky to have this. I don't believe in that. I believe that they should be lucky to have me. And that's a confidence. It's not a cocky. And so when I see that and I hear that from people, it makes me a little upset because, yes, I'm sure everybody's not the same. And I'm sure every teacher maybe didn't earn theirs the same way. But if they had to get a degree and they had to go to be trained to become a licensed teacher, it is different than when you sat in 5th grade one time and you sat in kindergarten through 12th grade and you go, well, I watch teachers all the time. So guess what? I could be a teacher. Everybody is a teacher at something in life. If you're a parent, you're a teacher. But are you a teacher, a certified teacher to teach education to, students? That is a skill. I'm not a doctor. I've been to the doctor's office a whole lot of times. I'll tell you that. I'm not a doctor, though, and I can't claim to be one. I've been to the dentist many times, and guess what? I'm not a dentist. I can't say that I know how to do that job just because I've been there. But I do hear that about education a lot, and it really is disturbing to me. I hope that you're not one of those people to think that you're capable of doing without the proper training. Do I think anyone can teach anyone something? Yes, you can sit in here and teach something. You sit at home and teach your kids things at times. But ultimately, on the day in and day out, to see what a teacher does behind scenes, I'm just promoting teachers for a minute here because it is my profession. Yes, there is a whole lot more to this story than actually just sitting in front of kids and babysitting or passing out a worksheet. It's not what this profession's about. You generally become a lot of different hats like most professions do. You're not just a teacher, but you are someone that has to care about these students. You become a parent at times during class. You become a social worker. You become a whole lot that's going on. So kudos to those teachers out there. I absolutely envy you for staying in this profession because I know it's very difficult and there's times where I don't want to be here, but we continue to do what we can do because we persevere through the hard, challenging things. So getting back to this, let's talk a little bit more about why confidence is so important and how do you gain confidence? Well, again, we talked about the 4 Ps, but you can gain it by focusing on self-care, right? Self-care. That's a big part of who I've become. Like, go to the gym, work out, mental health. Right? Work on your mental health, work on your physical health. It's eye-opening to see when you work on your physical being, on how much confidence you can gain. If you actually put in the work on your physical being, and that means eating properly, that means going to the gym or just walking or moving your body. I always tell everybody, you need to move your body 30 minutes a day. I tell my dad all the time, I'm hoping that he listens to me, move your body 30 minutes a day. You're 71 years old, you better start moving. Anyone at any age should be moving their body. No matter what you do, walk, incline walk is huge for people, run, work out, whatever it is you do, you must move your body. Physical health, self-care, and what you put into your body, what you eat and what you drink will build a confidence that you'll never feel in any other way. And it's absolutely a consistent thing. We're not getting confidence for going to the gym, complete confidence for going to the gym one day, but how do you feel after a workout? Even when you go for one day, how do you feel? I witnessed my kids going to the gym with me. It's amazing to watch. You can see the glow. You can literally see how their mindset changes and how happy they are from the fact that they accomplished something. We talk about building a confidence. Well, make your bed every day. You accomplish something. It builds to something else, right? We talk about that a little bit. But the idea is you want to feel good about yourself and that you did something. You completed something. Well, that's a confidence. And so, step into a gym, eat properly, meal prep, do some things that are different. Cut out a bad meal. Does that mean always? No, it doesn't. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to be like someone else. You got to be like you. And how do you take the small steps to get to that, right? That's goal setting, right? Setting achievable goals. Start with small goals. Have a cheat meal once or twice a week and then go into, maybe once a week or maybe every other day. Or if you are someone that eats fast food all the time, cut it out for 3 or 4 days in a row. Only do it on the weekends. Whatever it is, small goals will lead to these huge, big, long-term goals. If people are trying to lose weight, obviously that's some of the working out, the health that we're talking about. It doesn't start overnight. It starts with one step, and you continue to do it over and over and over again until you start seeing your results and building your confidence. Once you have confidence, you will continue on. Once you see results, you will continue on, and you will push yourself. Mental toughness, right? So this is all goes towards anything in your personal life. It goes towards your career, small, achievable goals. We talk about practicing positive self-talk. That's really important. And then the whole concept of stepping out of your comfort zone. What about what I'm doing on this podcast? I've mentioned it many times. Step out of my comfort zone. Give your words. Come back to the concept of not being comfortable. With being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay. I watched something one time and they talked about, it was a motivational speaker, and they said, well, how do you get up there? Aren't you nervous? How do you get up there and speak in front of all these people, hundreds of people? How do you do that? Well, it's kind of like podcasts. You're talking in front of a bunch of people that you don't know who's going to listen and who's not. But the idea is you just do. You just do it, and it'll come. When you have a big presentation at school or at work or wherever you're at, you just do it. What if you're nervous? Well, you do it nervous. What if you're sick? Well, you do it sick. What is the concept? The concept is I'm going to be uncomfortable. It's okay. When I start feeling comfortable while I'm in the middle of it, I'm building a confidence. I'm building my confidence to continue on. Yes, if you don't prepare, you're going to feel awful. So what do we talk about? Preparation, right? What did I fail at before and I can fix this time? Make sure we start looking to people to motivate us, to give us the encouragement so that we can be confident. And then that positive self-talk, I can do this. I can get through this. Even if it's not perfect, I can get through this. There's your 4 Ps again. Preparation, previous performance, people, positive self-talk. What can we do to build this confidence so we can accomplish things that we want to accomplish? I think you celebrate your achievements. I got through this. Even though it wasn't perfect and I stumbled and I was nervous and I got through this. I achieved something. I got a chance to speak in front of people. All right, I got through this podcast. It was hard. I got through it. All right, I started it and I finally got myself out there to start it. And it took me a long time to build up the confidence to actually get started. And I did it. And now I'm here. Now I'm doing it. All right, build a supportive network around you. Find those friends and family that are going to support you no matter what, even if you do sound awful, even if they don't want to listen to what you have to say. I don't care, but they're there to support you no matter what. And then forgive yourself. It's okay that you weren't perfect. It's okay that you didn't do something right. Forgive yourself so you can move forward and build a confidence in yourself, right? I'm a big believer in embracing a growth mindset. It is one of my core values I talked about, but understanding if I put in the work, I put in the preparation, I do this and practice this over and over and over again, I can see results. I can achieve what I'm looking for. Right? You got to have a growth mindset. And I think this is one that is really, really, really important, is practicing gratitude. All right. That's gratitude to yourself. That's gratitude to others. Be kind to yourself. It is hard. I have been through it. It's very difficult. I'm the most critical person on myself. I promise that. But sometimes that's a positive for me and sometimes that's a negative. So I have to be kinder to myself that I can. And I've been working and I see results. I mean, some people that have talked to me and I know people close to me that I've confided in and had conversations with, I'm transforming my body to be where I want it to be. and I'm doing a pretty good job, and I'm moving forward, and I've done some real changes throughout life because I want it to be where I'm fully confident in myself and my abilities. And that starts with one day at a time, every day at the gym. It starts with, eating right. It starts with things like, surrounding yourself with people that will support you. And I have many of them. And I have some people around me that are very close to me that support me. And, and I tell them, go ahead and eat that cookie in front of me. I'll watch, and go ahead and have that dessert, even though my diet's telling me I can't have sugar and I can't have certain things. Short diets. I don't believe in dieting. I believe in short diets that kickstart to long-term goals of what you want, right? It's a mindset change when you're eating. It's never going to be about, I'm going to be on the same diet forever. Carnivore diet is what I'm currently on. And the carnivore diet was meant for me for 1 to 2 months, and that's it. I have a goal, where I'm going to be at in 2 months, and I decided to try that. So I'm about halfway through, and the idea isn't for me to give up for life carbs and sugar. I'm going to eat carbs and sugar. That's unrealistic goal. I want realistic goals where I can provide myself a kickstart, and then I continue on with my life-changing ways of eating. But that's everybody's own. They make those choices. The concept is to be kind to yourself and understand, hey, you're doing a good job. You are seeing results. Maybe it's not where you want to be, but you're seeing them. And then the other concept is to be kind to others. When you build this intrinsic value inside your body, when you feel that inside you, like you want to cry because you're happy. I get it all the time. I get it talking on this podcast. I get it every single day of my life when I have a real heart-to-heart conversation with people, and it's a positive thing. I do also when it's a negative thing and you're upset about something, but it is a positive thing when you can build an intrinsic value of trying to help somebody. And it's not about your gain, it's about their gain. It's not about your needs, it's about their needs. When you know you help somebody, when you feel that and you see them appreciative of that, an intrinsic value will burn inside you to make you want to be emotional. And it's what it's all about. It's when you see a kid that you've been coaching forever, he makes it. He's exceeding. His process is getting there. When you see your own son get up there and speak in front of people, it is a burning sensation inside that is such a positive thing. It's called intrinsic value. I have a value that I'm looking at and saying, I helped, and it makes me feel good. I earned that because I did this, not because somebody gave me something. Extrinsic value, hey, give me money because I'll go do this for you. Intrinsic value, that's this podcast. This has nothing to do with making money. If it does, great, go out there. Well, make sure you follow, make sure you listen. Those things, great, make money. But it's not about that for me. Right? That means a lot of listeners are going to have to listen to this. But intrinsically, I did something and accomplished something I never thought I would do. I pass this down to my kids because this is important for them to hear my words. It's important for them to understand that they can do this. They can do these things. They have confidence that they can. If Dad can do it, they can. Let me tell you a quick story about my son. My son, Ben. Again, I talk about him a lot, and I'll talk about my daughter a lot. I know I've been talking about Ben a lot, but I have to make sure you understand that I love my daughter just as much as my son. She's amazing at a lot of things in her own way. But my son and I have a connection through sports, and we're both men, and there's a lot. I was training for the marathon last year, and I remember going out, and I remember running 6 miles, and I'm like, I ran 6 miles in this much time. And my son was like, oh, really? He goes out the next day, he runs 6 miles. He goes, here's my time. I go, well, you almost beat me, but you didn't. He goes out the next day, runs another 6 miles. Here's my time. Nope, you didn't beat me yet. Goes back the third day, runs another 6 miles. Destroyed my time. Absolutely destroyed my time. I said, you're crazy. Like, you just ran 6 miles 3 days in a row. That's a lot. So then I go and I run a half marathon because it's part of the training. I get this half marathon done, and I, hate it and hate running. I'm not a fan of it, but I did it, and this is my time. My son goes out maybe 2 or 3 days later. It's like a Friday. I think they were home from school. He tells his mom he's going to go running. He goes outside in the neighborhood. He goes running. Doesn't tell anybody anything. He runs a half marathon. He clocks a half marathon. No water, no preparation, no anything. Just runs a half marathon like nothing. Kid doesn't run. He's not a runner by nature as far as training, and just does it because my dad did it. I could do it, and he destroyed my time. So when I look at it as he built a confidence in himself, right? I can do this. If my dad can do it, I can do it. My dad's old. Well, at least he thinks so. But regardless, he just built this, and he just figured out I can do it. And then when he failed the first time in the 6 miles, guess what? He did it again, and then he did it again. That's what I'm trying to build. That's the kingdom I'm trying to build in him. He has a perseverance. He has a confidence in himself. And even though he's not a verbal kid when it comes to confidence, he is somebody that has it built inside him. It's credit to wrestling. Wrestling's amazing. It's a great sport that my family got me involved in. I got him involved in it, and it is showing worlds of difference for him, my nephew, for people that I've coached. I mean, it is an amazing sport. It is all about accountability for yourself. There is no blaming anyone else. I mean, it's one of the best sports I've ever seen. It is a physical battle. It is a fight physically without kicking and punching, as my son said in his speech, and it is something that will grow you into being, I don't even want to say being a man, because it's not a man sport anymore. Women and girls wrestle all the time, but it is something about building confidence in yourself that you have the ability to do. It will lead you into life where you will use this in your job, you'll use it in your everyday life, you'll use it in your relationships with people. I use it every single day. I can do this, I can get through this, I can get through something hard, I can fight for something that's important for me. So it is definitely building that intrinsic value, but also understanding to be kind to yourself. We talk a little bit about all these things that have to do with, confidence. And it's so important that I spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to give another quick story here. And this is just, it comes to mind. I thought this is an amazing story, so I really want you to listen to this one. So I have a friend, and he's one of the best guys I've ever met through sports. I think he's the stand-up guy. He's someone to look up to as far as a friend, as far as someone that'll be there for you. I think he's just a great guy. And his wife is an amazing woman. So the two of them are parents, and it's crazy to me to think on how their children are such good people. And their son, I had the privilege of coaching him at one point, and he's just a different kid, and it shows and it shines. And I want to tell this story. So my friend, he's talking to me about his son, and my friend is very big into complimenting and giving compliments, and makes me feel good. And so what he does is he compliments my son and how great my son is, which is amazing, and how great my family is, and my kid and my daughter. And he just gives these compliments. It's almost like every time I see him, I get the same thing, and it's great. I love hearing it because I feel the exact same way about his. I have the pleasure of meeting his daughter too much. I've met her a couple times, but his son, I coached. So he told me the story about how his son chooses his friends. And I'm just blown away by a kid at this age. I want to say he was probably in 8th grade when I heard this story. And he talks about how his son is so picky that what he does is he chooses his friends based on their character, and how they treat others. Are they generally a good person? He said the moment they cross and show that they're not a good person, or they act in a certain way towards other people around them, he cuts them out. I'll no longer be friends with you. I don't care who you are. I don't care how popular you are. I don't care the extent of if you were my friend for a long time or not. If you're going to be with me, if you're going to be in my kingdom, if you will, you're going to have to be a good person, and you're going to have to treat others right. And for an 8th grader to do that, it's just phenomenal to see. I mean, I'm a teacher, and I teach 8th grade, and I see it is all about clicks, and I see all the things that happen. And this kid is just phenomenal when it comes to being able to understand the power of surround yourself with good people. I mean, it's just so overwhelmingly powerful. And that comes with a confidence in who you are. I don't need you in my life. I am confident in who I am and who I am going to surround myself with. And I don't need you if you're going to act a certain way. And that's what we all have to do. We have to get through this accepting of horrible behavior. People make mistakes. I understand that. He's a kid that says, no, you don't get to make mistakes. And I love that about him in the sense that he gets to surround himself with genuinely good people that wouldn't make that mistake, depending on whatever parameters he sets for that. And the same thing goes with surround yourself with good people. I've talked about it before. Put yourself in positions to be successful. Good people around you. Have conversations with good people. Hang out with good people. I said before, this is an interesting conversation. I had a man, there's a great guy. He used to tell his students actually this, and I thought it was a little bit sketchy to be able to talk to students, but he did. He said it right. He said, hey, if you hang out with doctors, you're a doctor. And if you hang out with crackheads, you're a crackhead. And honestly, as much as it might not be politically correct to talk about, it's the truth. And I've said it before on one of my podcasts, and I'll say it again. I totally believe in that. I mean, I believe that put yourself in situations where you know that you're going to heighten yourself. What do they say? 30% people perform higher if they're in a room full of people that are high achievers, right? I don't know the statistics on it, but then also if you put yourself around people that are low achievers, you have like 40% chance to perform lower than you normally would. I mean, there's a whole lot that comes with statistics. I'm not sure if those statistics are correct or not, but I will say that there's a lot of truth to that. Surround yourself with good people. And that starts with their heart. That starts with being empathetic. That starts with who they are as people. And then it builds you, because you will always strive to be better then. So this leads me real quick to knowing your worth. I know this is kind of running a little long today, but I think this is pretty important. Know your worth means to understand and accept your intrinsic value as a person, regardless of extreme factors like achievements, trophies, money, or other opinions. It's about having a strong internal sense of self-esteem and recognizing your inherent worthiness. Self-worth is so important when it comes to building confidence in who you are. You have to have this. Knowing your worth is so important when you're talking about being in a job, being in a career. Knowing your worth when you talk about having friends. Knowing your worth when you talk about a relationship. Don't settle. Know who you are. Know what your worth is. Know what your core values are, right? Self-worth, you think about this, it's that core feeling of being good enough and deserving of love and respect, right? And when you talk about self-esteem, it can fluctuate, external achievements or different validation. Self-esteem can change. Self-worth is what you believe, that feeling inside you. That's pretty important, Couple things with self-worth is you got to set boundaries, know your worth, set healthy boundaries in a relationship and situations that you're in. Ensure you are treated with respect and dignity. Men, huge on respect. Women should be huge on respect as well. But make sure you get respect. It's the most important thing. Knowing your self-worth or knowing your worth, it's not about being arrogant or thinking about you are better than others. It's about recognizing and honoring your own unique value as a human being. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. These are my core values. Just like we talk about confidence, this is what I am. I'm confident in who I am. A lack of self-worth, you're going to have negative talk. You're going to downplay achievements. You're going to seek external validation. You're going to have, you're going to have self-criticism. You're going to have difficulty setting boundaries. You're going to avoid challenges due to fear of failure. Those are all lack of self-worth. You'll see depression, anxiety. You'll see substance abuse. You'll have people on drugs. You'll have relationship difficulties. You'll have difficulty in setting goals. All of those things come from a lack of self-worth. It's really, really important that we understand who we are as people, what our self-worth is, and understanding that we have to have a confidence in who we are and what we believe in. And all of this leads right back to our core values and how we live our life, right? All right, so I'm going to end there. I'm going to leave this alone, probably talk about a little bit more of this at another time. I think it's really important. We're talking about building our kingdom, making sure that we understand this idea of, continuously trying to better ourselves. When we identify what it is, when we identify what's happening, and we're intentional about what we want to do, we want to build confidence. We're intentional about it. How do we do that? We go ahead and we take these steps that we talked about today. When we're intentional about understanding empowerment, and we're intentional about empowering those around us, when we're intentional about building our core values and understanding what they are and actually living our lives the ways of our core values, we need to be intentional. So I'm going to leave you with this. Here's my quote to leave you with. Theodore Roosevelt said this once. He said, "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." So when you want to understand about confidence, and you want to understand a little bit about why it's so important to get halfway to where you want to be, you have to be confident that you can do it. You have to be confident in your abilities, confident in who you are, and you take the necessary steps to do, like we talked about, and how we can build confidence in the things that we need to do. You have to believe in yourself. All right, I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm signing off. Appreciate you listening. If you'd like to follow, it does help the podcast. You can comment. Please comment if you want to. Tell me what you think. You don't have to agree with me. It's okay. I'm all right with that. But you can also add any comments you would like, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.